Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Overflow Room. I got my baby girl here with me. So if you hear her rummaging around, that's okay. Say hi. Oh, so you don't really like to be on camera. That's okay. To you guys about today is about the blessing of ridicule. I feel like there are so many lessons from the Bible about different prophets, and not just prophets, just the mighty men of old they just went through the gauntlet of ridicule and they came out tough as nails. They had thick skin. They didn't let anything get to them, and I love it. I know that's the way that God wants us. He wants us strong. He doesn't want us wishy-washy, blowing this way, blowing that way, so afraid of what people think of us. I mean, he wants you to be mighty and powerful. Okay, so I'm gonna let you go and read the book of Nehemiah because it's just so good. It's full of so many goodies. But along the point of what I'm gonna talk about, I'm just gonna paraphrase a bunch and then you can just fill in the gaps. You can go read it yourself. But okay, so book of Nehemiah, so good. Nehemiah, I feel like him and I would be tight. Like, I feel like we'd be homies. And I feel like when I get to heaven, we're gonna be like this because we've been through some of the same stuff. So, story starts out, Nehemiah is a servant for King Artaxerxes. And at the beginning of the story, he's just so anxious. I mean, in my opinion, as I'm reading it, I just feel like he cares a lot what people think of him. He's scared to even frown in front of the king because he doesn't want the king to see him sad. Well, the king sees that he's sad, and the king asks him, why he's sad. And he talks about, well, my people back home are pretty much plundered and they're exposed. The wall has been broken down, and I'm devastated about it. But the king, rather than getting mad at him, he blesses him. He gives him all the resources that he needs. He releases him to go and work on the wall. And all of the Jewish exiles from everywhere, they come and they work on the wall together, and they're really excited. Right away, they start to get some haters opposing the work of the wall. And at first they start to tantalize them. They're mocking them, they're jeering at them, God's not gonna do it. And then the more that they work, the more that they get accomplished, they kind of increase their instigating a little bit. Then it gets personal. They take it out directly on Nehemiah. And Nehemiah, all throughout the story, he just gets bolder and bolder. And not just him, but all of Israel. They clearly get stronger. They clearly become a unified people there while they're working on the wall. And I think that that's so amazing because you can literally see ridicule happening on one end and then building this wall together on the other end. There's literally a passage where it talks about they have their weapon of war in one hand to fight against all these people that are waging war against them. And then the other hand, they've got their tool to work on the wall. I think that's such a testimony. So at the end of the story, squeaky, nervous, care what people think about him, Nehemiah, let me tell you something. He don't stay like that. He turns into this roaring warrior, lion man. He's ferocious. Situation arises where Jewish men are marrying foreign women, and Nehemiah just loses it. He's this is literally why we're in this situation with the wall. This is why the wall was broken down, because Solomon married all of these foreign women and they brought in with them all of their foreign gods, and that was why there was judgment on Israel. That's why the wall was broken down. So Nehemiah loses it, and he is literally he just goes crazy on these people. He beats some of them, he pulls out their hair. And he just is consumed with the zeal for righteousness. He's definitely not timid. He's not anxious. He doesn't care what people think of him. Nehemiah gets a glow up. He levels up. He comes into something new. And there's a journey that took him to that place. He's tough as nails now. And that was the whole point of everything. That was the whole point of the story. God wanted to get Nehemiah strong. He wanted to get the people strong. Let me talk to you about the blessing of ridicule. if you can walk through the fire of ridicule, you can walk through anything. We're in such a culture where we're so afraid to say something that's gonna offend someone. And I feel like if we could be free from that, like, how strong would we be? How strong would the church be? Like, literally, what could we do for Christ if we didn't care about looking like a fool? We'd be so delivered from perfectionism. We'd be so delivered from people pleasing. I just think we would be able to soar if we could be free from ridicule. Okay, now I need to talk a little bit about false humility, because I feel like the idea of humility is something that's very distorted. I don't feel like we have a really good grasp of what true humility looks like. I think a lot of us, and I myself was this way for a really long time, have felt like we have to be a doormat for Jesus, and like we're just suffering for the sake of righteousness and just taking on abuse after abuse and finding ourselves in these same cycles and these same relationship patterns where we're continually connecting with people who treat us poorly and treat us like dirt. And it's just not what Jesus wants for us. It's really not his plan at all. He wants so much more for us. Okay, so I'm going to compare two people. They're very well-known people. If I said their names, you would automatically like form a judgment about them. So I'm not going to say their names because you know each person. But I'm going to share a little bit from each of their lives, and then I'm going to let you judge off the fruit of their life, which one is truly humble and which one is truly blessed in the Lord's eyes. So the first person, this person was worshipped in her life. She's since passed away, but people would kiss the ground that she walked on, literally. Like she was a living saint. Among some of like her top supporters were kings, queens, like corrupt politicians, like everyone in power. Powerful people worshipped this woman and called her a saint. So that's like red flag number one, because she was so highly esteemed by these people, but she never ever, I mean, she had an opportunity because she had all of this influence, but she never once called them out for afflicting or oppressing the people that she was said to have given her life's work for. She never stood up for the poor people. She never stood up for those who were afflicted or oppressed. In fact, there's a story about this dictator who she had went and visited his country, and then she came back, and when she was asked about her experience and her trip there, she said, "I've never met a leader that was so in touch with his constituents and a people who loved their leader so much." Like, it was like so far from the truth, because these people were so oppressed by this leader. Like, he was a dictator, and he was vile, and people hated him, and there was revolting, there was like all sorts of chaos like in the country at the time. Like, she clearly had to have seen that there was rioting going on. Like, people would be bashing down statues of this man because he was so awful. Another time, there was a poison leak from a factory, and it killed thousands of people, and it made thousands more sick. And when she was asked about it, she told the poor people that they needed to forgive, and she like never once said anything that, like, you know, this is wrong, that you should be poisoning people for capital gain. Like, just very interesting. When she did have influence, she had a connection with that industry owner, and she never once like publicly made any statement against this person. I mean, there's several accounts of where she had the resources and the means to save people's lives, but she very flippantly acted like she didn't care about their life. Like, in fact, actually, she was given throughout her life, I don't know if a lot of people know this about her, but she was given millions of dollars. And if you follow where the money came from, it was from some of the most corrupt people who are notorious for crimes against humanity. She got money from these people. And so she had millions of dollars, and it's like she didn't use it to help the people. So the second person is also well known, and this person is either loved or hated, but people definitely have a strong opinion about this person. And this person is like, they say the wrong thing. Every time they open up their mouth, they say something offensive. But when you actually look at the fruit of their life, they give their resources, their time, their money, their energy I've seen this person weep for people in prison, for people who are oppressed, for people being trafficked. So the first person talks the talk, but doesn't really walk the walk. The second person definitely does not talk the talk, but walks the walk when you actually look at their life. And I think that, the first person that I talked about, she had this demeanor that she was so broken for, those that were suffering. But at the end of the day, she, if you actually, looked at her life, she didn't give anything to the poor. She didn't give anything to the poor, except for when a camera was on her. And I think that that's really, the part that's being highlighted to me, is that man judges by outer appearances, but God looks at the heart of a person. I'm not saying that it's your job to go out and cast judgment and to condemn people, and but I'm just saying be careful who you idolize. And on the same token, don't dismiss anyone because they might say something that doesn't really rub you the right way. They might say the wrong word. I'm a queen of saying the wrong thing at the perfect timing. I always get myself into trouble by saying the wrong thing. And in my heart of hearts, I never want to hurt anyone. I never want to cause anybody pain. I never want to cause someone to feel ashamed, or I just would never want to put that on a person. And I mean, I'm one to go home after I'm with people and tear apart everything that I said, because I'm just keeping myself up at night thinking, did I hurt that person? But yeah, I know I say things and I come across sometimes as kind of intense and kind of harsh, but again, God judges a person's motives. I'm not putting those examples out there for you to go and be the master judge, but I want you to see that true humility, it's not just a demeanor that you carry, oh, I'm so holy, I'm so humble, I'm suffering so much for the Lord. No, it's actually a heart intention, and your heart intention is to lay down your life for those who are suffering. It's sacrificial in nature. You don't have to put on a show. You don't have to show anything to anyone, because your heart of hearts is truly, you truly are moved by compassion for the least of these. Okay, so all that to say, the Lord called us to be gentle as doves, yet shrewd as serpents. So those aren't oxymorons. They fit together in perfect harmony. We are gentle in demeanor towards, I just see this all throughout Jesus's life. He was so gentle and meek to those who were in humble places, but he was bold as brass to those who were the Pharisees, the religious leaders and the Pharisees. He told them what was up. He didn't shrink back from that. Why? Because he was moved to compassion to those who they were oppressing. And he was I'm not having it. I love these people. I'm going to stand up for them. I'm going to put my life on the line for these ones. And he ultimately did die for them. He did die for those who were oppressed. And so just got to think about that. True humility does not mean that you're not going to cause some ripples. Jesus gave some really difficult teachings in his time here on earth. I'm pretty sure at some point, and every point of his ministry, he offended at least one person. I mean, he was weeping over Jerusalem, and then almost in the next breath, he's flipping tables in the temple. He says, "Blessed are those who do not stumble on account of me." So Jesus knew he was offensive, and I'm pretty sure he embraced it. I think the biggest moment where we see the perfection of Jesus's humility combined with his toughness is his journey to the cross and the crucifixion. I mean, he endured betrayal, mocking, scourging. Could any of that get him to throw in the towel? No, he kept going. He wasn't going to stop till the work was finished. He's up on the cross, dying, and what's he doing? He's praying for his murderers. That's tough. The story doesn't end there. Jesus dies. He's let down from the cross. People are weeping. They're missing him. And he shows back up because he's you're missing the point. He meets with his people, his disciples, and he tells them, hold up, wait right here, don't go anywhere until you are clothed with power from on high. It's that was the whole point of everything. His death, his burial, his resurrection. It was to get you to walk in power. And some of you might say, that was 2,000 years ago. That was for those people. No, Jesus' death is just as powerful today than it was back 2,000 years ago. He died so that we could be more than whole. I mean, he died so that we could be more than conquerors. And like, I think we got to get past it, girl. We're more than conquerors. Jesus died to get that to you. You see this face? This is a face that doesn't care what people think of me. Wasn't always that way. This intensity doesn't happen overnight, okay? This took some work. God had to work on me to get me to this point. It's a lot of tears, a lot of ridicule, but I worked with Jesus and he delivered me from it. And now I can honestly say I really don't care. I really don't care what people think of me. I really don't. The only one that I'm concerned about is Jesus's opinion of me. And if he's smiling on me, then it's all good. It's all good. It doesn't matter what anyone thinks of me. And that's what I want for you too, okay, sis? I want you to be free. That's all I have today, but I'm gonna leave you with this. Next time I see you, I better catch you flexing, okay? I better catch you stunting because you got it in you. I believe it. You got life up inside those bones. You got a roar in that belly and I'm gonna hear it. I wanna see you shine and I wanna see you rocking it, girl, okay? I want you to be tough as nails. I want you to be as bold as bronze. I want you to be a bulldozer in the Lord, okay? Say, I'm powerful, I'm mighty, I'm strong. Ain't nobody gets that much shine. Tell him.